Well, for starters, it's bloody, it's gruesome, and we all know this. However, there's a lot more to it than just simply that. Without a doubt, Berserk is a masterpiece. The love, effort, dedication, and attention to detail goes above and beyond with every page, let alone every single panel. The artwork in of itself is completely timeless, and from now, and probably until the end of time, Berserk's artwork will be regarded as the best, if not one of the best. Not only are characters expressive to a T, but with every action they take, you get a sense of weight and scale within each and every one of their movements, making the manga come to life more than it already does. Berserk would have some of the best landscapes and environments I have seen ever drawn in a manga. Not even a single rock gets untouched by Miura's pen, and it shows. Beyond how amazing the art looks, there goes an amazing amount of creativity put into every single monster and fantasy setting that Miura has created in the manga. With the likes of dragons, trolls, and Kelpie all remastered in Kentaro Miura's vision. Seeing him create original, new, and fresh depictions of already existing fantasy creatures really gives you a lot more insight into what kind of vision he has when it comes to designing the world of Berserk, allowing everything that is shown to be a very transparent reflection of the lives that not only the humans live, but the monsters as well. Having some of the ugliest and most disturbing designs in monsters that I have seen, giving them disgusting wrinkles, eye slits that look insanely unnatural, followed by long coats of fur that give you an idea of this monster's lifetime, letting us know that these beings existed longer than the current story did. And with that being said, this is another layer that Kentaro Miura goes above and beyond in. It's when involving the reader in the very history of everything that he's created, allowing characters that have existed thousands of years ago to affect what is happening to Guts and Griffith, giving us so much more to attach ourselves to rather than just the dynamic of our two main characters. There is a whole entire time period that we as readers have no idea about, and it just so happens to flesh out everything. With empires such as Midland, Tudor, and the Kishin Empire, there are many cultures in Berserk that exist and have a disagreement, and so we get to see the very lifestyle of all the kingdoms that our characters exist within. And this part of the story is really an afterthought. The cultures and the kingdoms are really just another layer added on to the adventure of our main character Guts. On the topic of the main character, he just so happens to be one of the most inspiring protagonists to date. One thing that everyone comes to appreciate about this character is the very fact that no matter what happens, he continues to rise up. Guts is put in nearly impossible situations, and he's always near the brink of death, and it makes every single battle feel that much more rewarding because whenever Guts is fighting, he takes such a beating, such a brutal amount of pain on his body. It makes you really think about his circumstances, and considering everything that he's been through when it comes to the entire story up until now, it makes every single fight that much more rewarding because you can understand this character and really get behind the way he fights and why exactly Guts does what he does. Some of these things may be morally questionable, but the main protagonist fights in a world where morals are questionable altogether. He fights down and dirty because the world around him is down and dirty itself. One of my favorite scenes, a scene that really called out to me and let me know that Berserk goes above and beyond. It would be a scene where Guts is fighting his rival character, Griffith, for the first time. Thematically, he would be fighting for his free will, because if he were to lose this fight, he would end up having to be one of Griffith's mercenaries. And in this fight, his rival invokes a sense of purity. He's like a messiah even. We see Guts trade swords with him, however, with his sword being at least a tenth the size of Guts' sword, he's still able to fight Guts back, making his rival seem like a larger than life character. Griffith would be a figure that is larger than life, however, Guts would be a reflection of the very life in Berserk itself. Guts would bite Griffith's sword, and this really lets you understand what kind of experience and tenacity he has that has gotten him this far in this terrible world that he lives in. Moments like these when Guts does the unthinkable and makes self-sacrificial choices to win, because he wants to win that badly. It makes it hard not to enjoy his victories, no matter how messed up it may seem. Interestingly enough, there's a method to the madness, and it makes you come to appreciate even the most disgusting things that happen in this manga. And a lot of terrible things happen in this series. Without a doubt, your stomach might just turn, and you may even second guess whenever you want to turn a page. Is this manga for the faint of heart? Not at all. Is it hard to recommend? Possibly. But if you can get around the blood, the suggestive themes, you might even begin to appreciate the message that this manga is trying to preach, which makes readers such as you and I question our own humanity and ask ourselves what it really means to be human. Berserk would not only touch upon religion, but also the desire of human beings, tackling the idea of what any man would really want in life. Whether it be a thirst for battle, a kingdom to own, or even love. In Berserk, they live around others in a world where feelings are the last thing anyone is concerned about. In the face of battle, the opponents never care, let alone think about the lives of the people that they kill. Fights are won through savagery and tenacity, leaving not even innocence itself to play a role in everything that is going on. The innocent and the weak get trampled on, while the strong will always take advantage. And this is something that the manga has taught me well. No matter what, if there's something that someone wants, they will not care about the things around them. They will get what they want no matter the cost. And this is really stressed through the behemoths that exist in the series, causing humans to go through many trials and tribulations to ultimately sacrifice the things that are the closest to their hearts in order to get what they want, leaving you wondering what is it exactly that they wanted if they had to sacrifice the things that are closest to their hearts in order to sustain their own personal satisfaction. While on the topic of what people want, Guts himself goes through a character arc where he's trying to understand what exactly it is that he wants. Whether it be living for simply survival, chasing his own dream, or even having his own free will. What exactly is it that Guts wants to do, and what kind of price will he pay in order to get exactly what he wants? Just like every other character that has become a victim to this same tragic world that they live in. There's an idea that this story is nothing but blood, guts, and shock value, and those who think this about Berserk couldn't be any more wrong. In Berserk, we can understand a sentiment of God. While witnessing the lives of these characters, you begin to see that they need something to attach to, something that they ultimately need to believe in order to push on and strive through their hardships. Whether it be finding comfort in holding your own sword, following and believing a leader of a mercenary band, a king, or even destiny itself, leading you to believe that things happen because they are supposed to happen, allowing the idea that life is already set out before it was even brought into fruition, all in accordance to God's will. Needless to say, it falls within God's plan. This is a theme that becomes an afterthought for average readers, with it reading, in this world is the destiny of mankind, controlled by some transcendental entity or law. Is it like the hand of God hovering above? At least it is true that man has no control even over his own will. These lines are very famous, but at times they're forgotten about when it comes to the story. Figuring out whether or not Guts is truly living life for himself or if he's really just falling into the hands of destiny is one of the more amazing aspects of the plot that we can look forward to. Is Guts' strength, is his life Are his struggles truly his own, or do they belong to an entity that already has control of his overall existence? Knowing this reshapes the entire identity of Berserk as a whole, leading to an underlying truth through every single one of our characters' actions, leading every single character to be at the mercy of their own idea of what God is, allowing their own pain, suffering, and struggles in order to shape themselves into who they want to be. And this is where the sense of mystery comes. Just like in life itself, they don't know what they want to be. They don't know what they will be years from now. Are they changing fate, or are they falling to its mercy? Or with the very idea that they have control over their own lives leads them to not have a single ounce of control in the first place. Everything would have happened for a reason, and is it because they wanted it to, or was it something else altogether? This is how the religious themes in the story not only creates a new perspective for the reader, but it also recreates pre-existing cultures and ideas, causing states to go to war simply because of a difference in beliefs, whether it be monotheism or the belief in multiple gods or different gods. And this all makes up to fulfill just one of the many messages of this amazing masterpiece of a manga, which is all deeply rooted into one single thing, with it being the will of man, regardless of social class, riches, sword skill, or even your own dreams. It's all about what you want and what you can't have. Casca would want Griffith. Griffith would want a kingdom, and Guts would find his own goal altogether. Now, if what the manga preaches about moving forward isn't that interesting to you, on the more creative side of things, you can enjoy the fantasy elements alone. This manga would be a staple for the fantasy genre as a whole, with many things taking inspiration from it, and for very, very good reason. When we initially read this manga, we are met with only swords meeting blows from other human beings, and then eventually, over time, we begin to see the entire world of Berserk change, and we see it truly take advantage of its fantasy elements that were incorporated from the very beginning, with demonic beings coming into the physical world from the astral world, which is another world entirely that is stacked over top of the existing world in Berserk, and it allows you to see how big the scale of this manga really is. With introductions of characters like the Skull Knight and Zod or the Lord of Thieves, rather than always feeling the immense weight in our stomachs that we get from reading this series, there is definitely a bit of charm when it comes to Berserk as a whole when you get to see something new lurking around every single corner. Having the manga go from simple sword fights and warfare, it would only evolve and put a lot more emphasis on sorcery and magic, with not only our characters gaining new abilities and powers that seemed like they would have existed in a different manga altogether from what we were originally reading. It lets you understand just how rich and how immense the potential Berserk has, not only as a fantasy manga, but as a pillar of fantasy in its entirety. The best part about it all is that if you were to look at something, you could immediately tell it's from Berserk. And that really only speaks to what this series has brought to the table. If you have not read this yet, you're doing yourself a disservice. If the art was not enough alone, the storytelling will literally grab you and torment you, emotionally possibly. And as I say that, I hope it doesn't scare you away, because there is nothing that is like this manga. There's nothing that matches the panel work, the world building, the emphasis of the fantasy genre, the creativity, and the inspiration. I've seen many fantasy series throughout multiple mediums, but none of them really touch the heart and rewire your brain the way Berserk does. In its purest form, it is art, and quite simply, it is a masterpiece, and it would be foolish not to give this a perfect score. Even though it's unfinished, everything that is here is definitely more than enough for any reader to attach themselves to. I guarantee that if you read this, you will not walk away as the same person you were before. Berserk easily gets a 10 out of 10 from me. And there is still so much here that I have not even covered in this review.